So I was born and grew up in Burj Al Barajni, a suburb of Beirut. Basically, it was during the Civil War till I was 18 in 1992. I left to United States. The time I spent in Lebanon was in turmoil, war, civil war, occupation, and poverty. And the only reason I left was due to my mother request and demand actually to leave and join my brothers, who one of them was studying computer science and the other was working. She wants me to get away from the war so I don't get killed or killed. Yes, I just finished high school and I left. Just like everybody else in my region or my area, it was pro resistance against the occupation and pro liberation and against poverty. And mainly the people who were sponsoring those views were Hezbollah. So I my views were supporting Hezbollah basically. That was correct. Initially, I was not supporting Hezbollah. I was supporting another party, which was Amal. But after years of what I perceived as corruption, and Hezbollah came to take over, and they were helping people with everything they need, from water to food to schooling and this. I lost my father when I was 13, and Hezbollah organizations were the one who helped me basically go to school and with other life necessities. This is actually a travesty of a justice for them to make such a claim. The person who made this claim, he never been in Lebanon. He did not speak Arabic. He has no expertise whatsoever. His name was Matthew Levitt, somebody who worked in the Israeli government and has significant incentive to smear me and say things that is incorrect. The man that was in the picture at the time was probably Sayyid Nasrallah's father age. So he looked, and the picture, if you saw it, it was half. All what you could see is hair and beard. And this man looked at it and said, "Yes, it's Nasrallah," which was absolutely not true. Although I say that, I would be proud if Nasrallah was with me, Sayyid Nasrallah was with me in the picture, but it was not. In Lebanon, I was never part of Hezbollah as military or anything like that. That picture, I took it in an office that was next to my house. And as a person who grew up in civil war in Lebanon, that was something that kids would show off that, look at me, I have a weapon. But in reality, it was, no, I was not. And the government knew better. And they knew that was not true, to the point where they refused that to sit with me. And I told them, I'll take polygraph test to prove for you that I was not Hezbollah and I did not send money in 1999 to Hezbollah. But they were not interested in the truth. They were interested, the prosecutor was interested in his self image and interest. And to him, that it was much, much important that to convict me and make name for himself than seeking justice as he's supposed to. Absolutely. I was the first Muslim after September 11 to go to trial, and I was the first one ever in United States history to go under that law, material support. So prior to me, there was no blueprints how to prosecute somebody under that law. I was the first one, and that's even the judge now, when he released me, acknowledged those two things in his decision. No, actually, I did admit that in the court, and I did say that from 1996 till 1998, I did sell cigarettes and did not pay the federal taxes due on those cigarettes. And those charges, I did not fight them even in the court. I said I'm guilty on those. But the government, as they said, if it wasn't for Hezbollah, we wouldn't have been here. And see, the government was misinformed apparently. But since the prosecutor made those claims that he had a press conference stating that he arrested a cell, Hezbollah cell in North Carolina, and I was its leader, years later, he did not find single piece of evidence to support that I sent money to Hezbollah. But he wasn't about to back up and lose his career. They spent millions of dollars. So he got that person whose name Saeed Harb, who had a lot of incentive to lie. This guy was facing decades in prison, The government knew he was desperate to bring his family to United States. He spends dozens of thousands of dollars to bring his family, and now his dream was about to be fulfilled. So when they gave him that offer to testify against me, Saeed was the happiest person on earth, you know. So he got his freedom, and he brought 12 members of his family to United States on American taxpayers' money. I did. He's one of the guys who lived in Charlotte, and from time to time we used to meet and see play soccer together. But he was not as the government portrayed him to be my buddy. In fact, from 1999 till 2000, as he admitted also to the FBI, that's not only my word. He said he was not associating with us. Saeed went in a life that was completely different than my life, and we barely saw each other. I was involved. I was building my gas station and going to college, and he was doing whatever he was doing for his own stuff. So yeah, from 1998 till 99, we did not see each other much. Absolutely. I mean, the issue is at the time, most American people did not know the difference between Muslims, whether WhatsApp, they did not know the difference between Hezbollah and Al Qaeda. To them, my name is Muhammad and I'm from Middle East, so I got to be one of bin Laden followers, you know. So and the prosecutor did a great job in actually insinuating the jury, although indirectly, but the way he structured the security around the court and the way they brought me from the jail to the court, no one can think of me as an innocent person when the government was spending millions of dollars in security. I was transported along with my brother in motorcade armored truck. The surrounding around the court was like a battlefield. I mean, marshals everywhere. To terrify the jury, they were taking them to secret place and bring them secretly to the court and giving them numbers. So if you are a juror in the court, would you think that person is innocent and the government doing all of this? They blocked the downtown streets just because of my case. They put extra metal detectors and stuff like that just to terrify the people and make them think that this guy is really serious guy. Yeah, that's also that's one of the newspaper magazines Reader Digest actually described me as the world's most dangerous terrorist. Not one single. I mean, the media, not like we perceive it here. Before going through this ordeal, my impression was about the American media are the most honest media in the world, but to find out it's fake. It's not nothing about truth. I mean, some stuff they exaggerated so much just to portray me as real terrorist or somebody who's really bad and deserved to spend the entire of his life in prison. No, actually not. Most of them were basically just reporting from the government perspective. I was never approached. The only one time approached me is Fox News, and the prison would not allow them to come. Basically, so my voice was never voiced in the American media. I did. Actually, I requested 60 Minutes several times. I sent them letters telling them that there is a case that must be investigated because I felt it was miscarriage of justice and it was not what American claims to be. It was against everything that I was told American believe in fairness and freedom and all of this because I was, about to lose my life in prison and yet for no reason. The first things came to my mind, my mother, because she really struggled so much and cried so much that I leave Lebanon so she can have me in a peaceful place. And now I was thinking, look what happened to me. I left the war, I left everything to live in peace. And now here you go, I'm about to spend the rest of my life in prison. But always God implement hope in your heart, and that hope always kept me alive, basically. I was arrested when I was 26, so I was sentenced when I was 28 or so. I went through several prisons. I started in a high security prison, which used to be called Bloody Bowman, Texas, and they called it Bloody Bowman because it was bloody. Then I went from there to USB Big Sandy, which is also high security, and it was called also Bloody Big Sandy. Then they structured a prison, especially for people who convicted of things what they perceive as national security. It's called CMU, Communication Management Unit, and that jail basically breaks every single rules that United States claim to uphold. It has all the violation that no one would imagine in the United States. A prison would be run like that. There's no recreation yard like other prisons. We were limited with phone calls, not like other prisons. We had 500 minutes. In that prison, we had only two calls a week that we have to pre-schedule them. And if for any reason the prison locked down, we are not allowed to make up our calls. Mainly, we could not. I mean, there was nothing to do in that place except just sit down and wait for your time. I went to that place two times. First time I was there for 4 years, which I spent mainly with people who were convicted of supporting Al Qaeda. Then, after about 8 years or so, I came back to that place in 2019. And this time I had to go through, live with people who were convicted with ISIS. Of course, and that's the hypocrisy in the American system. So they would not put two rival gangs in a prison, let alone in a unit. Prison, that humongous prison, they would not put two rival gangs together because they know they gonna harm each other. Yet they did not care about my safety. They did not care about my life. They put me with people that they know fighting. Basically, I'm allegedly to be Hezbollah, and they know, and I'm Shia, and they basically believe killing Shia is permissible and actually sometimes a duty. So yeah, they did not care. I protested for that. I filed all the way to Washington, from the region to central office, complaining that you guys putting my life in jeopardy because you're putting me with people who perceive me as an enemy. So I was afraid that if Hezbollah killed one of ISIS leader, those people would retaliate and kill me. And what's important too, one ISIS guy, just a few months before I came, actually he killed one older guy and tried to cut his head and do like what ISIS do on the TV. And but they came before he was able to finish his head, so they took him out. I mean, definitely in the beginning, I had concern. After a while, we became to know each other, but that thought always was in my mind that if Hezbollah attack kills one of their leader, they might retaliate because, as I said, they do not perceive me as a Muslim. They do not perceive me as they perceive me basically as an enemy. So yeah, that thought was always in my mind. I always believed in this. I was the government incarcerated my body, and it was up to me to incarcerate my brain. So I kept working on that issue that as long as I develop, as long as I study, work out, do my religious duty, I'll survive. So I kept that, and I did a lot of work in the law library, which helped me also be optimistic about my legal aspect of the case. In general, they claim that they treat everybody the same and they don't care about people charges. But in reality, of course, they are human. And they when they told them that I'm terrorist, so of course they're gonna look at me as a terrorist, and some of them would try to not give me my rights. For example, I did not eat meat at the time due to my religion, although they suppose to give me what they give people who eat meat. I had to suffer, and I had to wait on my family to send me money so I can buy food from the store and to eat. When they suppose, according to their papers and policy, I was supposed to be provided with everything that meat people who eat meat provided. I had medical skin condition, and it took 3 years, and they did not treat me. I felt I was tortured. I complained to every single officials from the all the way to Washington, and no one cared. They would give me like pills here and there, but they were never serious in treating me till I left. So all those that we heard in the media about the human rights and how they criticize the human rights in other countries, I think human rights in other country much better than the one I experienced in the United States in prisons. Well, thankfully, thankfully for the fabricated media in the United States. So as I said, like some media who portrayed me as to be a dangerous person and who's well connected. So that gained me respect from the prisoners because no one tried to mess with me because they thought I'm really connected outside and they were scared of me, you know. So that helped me a bit with the prisoners. With the guards, it was depend on the guard. So some of them would be, actually would give me respect to knowing that what my case was. Some of them who hate Muslims would try to annoy me somehow just to because he feels that that's his duty basically, although it's not. Of course, it was dangerous, especially in the penitentiaries. The high security prison that I've been to, the Bloody Beaumont and Bloody Big Sandy. Usually, somebody in my case with my backgrounds would not be in those places. Those places for gangsters, for killers, for murderers, not for somebody who's convicted of sending money, as they said, to Hezbollah. So really, technically, I wasn't supposed to be in place like that, but they put me in place like that, and just I was lucky that people read the media about me, and they did not mess with me. But really, that could be dangerous to my life. I mean, in those places, you have before the doors open at 5:30 in the morning, you have to put your boots on and be ready for any sudden attack. So you always walking in the compound and your eyes right and left who gonna attack you, and that's not unique to me. I mean, most prisoners always ready for any attack because you have crazy people who just might jump on somebody and stab him. Although that's true, and that's the feeling I should have, but I was looking for more justice. I thought I was gonna go home, and I was prepared to go home. And the reason why I thought that when I was convicted and sentenced, my case, as I said, was one of the first cases in the country, right? But after almost 11 years, I thought now the judge had the opportunity to see real terrorists, people who were setting bombs, how much time they were getting. People who were setting bombs and they were getting 5 and 10 and 15 and 20 years. So I thought the worst, the judge would give me 15 years, which is at the time I would have to do a couple years more. So when I came back for resentencing, that's what in my mind, the worst was 15 years. So when he gave me 30 years, although it's better than 155 years, actually I was in shock, and my attorney was the same. He did not expect him to give me this. We had a list of all terrorism cases in the United States, financial and terrorism, and we showed the judge all those charts. Look, people who setting bombs getting 20 and something years. How could somebody who the judge acknowledged during a jury press conference, he told them, I'm sorry, jury instructions. So he told the prosecutor, I do not find any evidence this man supported Hezbollah violent activity. So judge who said the same thing, right? 2 months later at the sentencing, he would give me the same enhancements. Usually judges give it to people who involved in violence activities. So that shows you that was very illogical. It was travesty of justice, that how could you give me terrorism enhancement when you acknowledge there was no evidence I supported Hezbollah violent activities. So yes, although I was grateful, but I was not really happy because I thought he gonna do what is right and give me my freedom. It's really shame on those people who leak this information and even speaks about it. I was clueless when this man came to me. He was supposed to support me, help me, hiring an attorney. And I'm talking about I interviewed two attorneys, one from Raleigh, North Carolina, and one from Michigan. And this man told me he gonna help me with hiring one of them. So to make the story short, this guy was wired. And all what I'm telling him, he would tell me, I'm gonna do everything that we discussed. And I tell him, thank you. Not once I mentioned a word that I wanna harm anyone. In fact, what's interesting, the FBI themselves, who worked on that part of the case, they were not on my case, they were working on that investigation, they recommended that this case should be closed because that person was liar. He failed polygraph test. He contradicted himself several times, and not once I mentioned in recording hours and hours. Not once I said anything that this man claimed. When they asked him why Hamoud, with this long conversation, did not mention anything indicate that he wants to harm anyone, at one period of time he told them, "Oh, I ran out of time," although it was 3 hours. Another time he told them, "Oh, it wasn't part of the plan." What do you mean it wasn't part of the plan? You came from different jail to come and record this conversation between him and me, and then you say it wasn't part of the plan. That was really ridiculous. I volunteered to take polygraph test. They would not give me. And later on in 2012, I told my attorney, look, even if the FBI does not want to give me, I want to take polygraph test. Please hire one and let me take polygraph test. I did, and I passed the test. Yes,
But
but
recently,
what's interesting is they agreed it's does not meet the requirement for them to use it against me in the court. So they did not use it against me in the court, but they used it in the media to prejudice me, basically. Well, when we filed a compassionate release based on disparity between my sentence and defendants who similarly situated to my sentence, and the judge granted a hearing, I was optimistic that something good gonna come, because usually throughout the years the judge always ruled against me, but this time for him to grant a hearing was something special. So I was waiting for it. And when I was in the rec yard working out, when the case manager called me, when she told me that, I have to go to her office, immediately I knew I have good news. And it was indeed good news. She told me that pack your stuff and you're leaving. But since I
when
have,
was that? I'm sorry.
when was that? It was in November 30th, 2019.
19?
Yes, because I went. I'm sorry. No,
21?
no, 21.
22, I'm sorry.
22, 22.
Okay.
Because I went for immigration detention for almost 6 months. It has nothing to do with anything politics. And in fact, I had left 3 years left for my sentence to be completed. So the judge only reduced it by 3 years, because with my good time and good conduct, I still have only 3 years. So no, it has nothing to do with politics. It was a judge decision. Finally, after all those years, he decided to do the right thing. If you look at the judge decision for that one, when he released me, and the decision that when he gave me 30 years, you would think that he's speaking about two different people. Now I'm peaceful person. That now he counted all those issues that favorable to me, that why he should release me. Versus last time when I saw him, he said basically I should spend more time because I'm still dangerous to the United States national security, even from Lebanon. It's hard to describe my emotion because really I can't describe it. Honestly, there's no word to describe it in the sense that um, there was not much. I don't know. It's kind of I used to prison, although I was looking forward and so much longing to see my family and freedom. But my feeling did not change much in the beginning. Maybe because I was going to another jail, because I knew I was going to ICE. And after that, of course, my ICE is the immigration.
Ice is that
Yeah, yeah,
familiar?
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So after that, of course, yeah, it's like a dream. It was like a dream. I couldn't. There's no words that can explain it. I tried to do anything that I was able to do to expedite my removal from the United States. I volunteered even to pay for the tickets, but because I had a green card, they said I must stand up in front of immigration judge. I refused to do that because I told them I don't want to waste one more day in the United States when my family waiting for me. So then we came to agreement, and my attorneys interfered and signed the agreement that I waive my rights and they deport me. But nevertheless, it took them 6 months. So, which was really ridiculous. I think really what they portray the media, they don't believe that. They know the truth. They are not stupid. They all what they done. Look, the prosecutor said, that's his words to the author of Lightning Out of Lebanon. He said, I knew this case was a lifetime case. It was a career maker. He's talking why he had seniority in the office and he could pick up any case to prosecute. My case initially was assigned to different prosecutor, but because his seniority and he knew how this case gonna play a role in his career, he took it and he acknowledged why he took that case. So really, he knew the truth and he knew everything, and that's why he never wanted to interview me because he did not want to hear other than what he think and what help him to promote his own career.
This
So I
they
don't believe really they watching me because they know I was not that person. Of course, yeah. So if they portray me I'm big, then the prosecutor is bigger, because he look if he prosecutes somebody who's insignificant, doesn't look good. So if he makes me really a significant person, then he's significant too. So before my trial, I was approached. So, but the prosecutor insisted that I have to give him names in the United States for Hezbollah operatives. And I told him I don't know anyone. He did not believe me or he did not want to. My lawyer told me, look, he will never make a settlement or give you a good plea deal unless you give him one because he wants to show the media that he got something. So I told him, look, I left Lebanon when I was 18. Do you really believe Hezbollah gonna trust me with information about the United States? So he sent me a message with my attorney that if I don't have name and I don't have anything for him, I will never see the streets again. And that was his word. And he tried hard to
and that
do
was the
it.
last time too. The last time that they tried to get you to talk, so to
Yes,
speak.
before trial. Yes. Oh, that's completely different country. I mean, everything's changed. People, styles, culture, houses, cars, streets. I feel like I'm on different planets. So I can't recognize anything that I know. I mean, in Beirut, I still did not know how to leave my brother' apartment and come back. Yeah, it's completely different country. This here, this village, nothing is still the same. Israel destroyed in 2006, and all the houses here is new to me. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up and learn how to use the cell phone and the computers and all of this. Although prior to my arrest, I was still studying computer science, but everything changed tremendously. For somebody like me from Lebanon, always I was aware of politics and I knew United States foreign policy was unjust for its support to Israel. However, I thought United States was the greatest country on the earth as far as democracy and justice. And I lived in the United States as under those beliefs. In fact, if I did not have those beliefs, I wouldn't have been arrested on those accusations. And that's something I told the prosecutor in the court. When he asked me if I'm peaceful, why I spoke about Hezbollah and this, I told him simply because I thought the United States was the mother of democracy. The first course I took in the United States when I was studying English was about United States freedom and the First Amendment. So I really believed in the First Amendment. I spoke about Hezbollah and the resistance openly. I never feared of persecution or prosecution. And I ended up to be naive. And I did not think United States like that. I would have never imagined, if I did not have this experience, I would have never imagined United States justice system this way. I would tell them, don't, if you want to go there, don't believe in the freedom. Imagine yourself going to a country that always persecute people for freedom and everything. So you go there, just behave. Yes, you have freedom to go with girls and party and this. Yes, you have freedom for that. But when it comes to politics and your religion, you're gonna be under surveillance just because you believe.
In particular, the religious.
Of course, especially if you're Muslim. Not at all. In fact, I feel grateful for those people who here in Lebanon liberated my country, who defended my country against ISIS and Israel. And I feel any person who believes in freedom and liberation would honor those people, which is Islamic resistance in Lebanon, because I love freedom and I cannot contradict myself and not love those people. I love people who are humanitarian and support poor and orphan. So therefore, I cannot be against those people who supporting poor and orphans, especially when our government is not taking care of those unfortunate people. I was reading some in the newspaper and on CNN. Of course, it was very hard time because all my family lived here in Beirut and they were bombing everywhere. So 24 hours I was in really bad situation, just trying to make phone calls, and the calls were very expensive, dollars. Every each minute cost $1 to Lebanon, but I made it. I'm working now in my memoir, which is I'm almost in the end of it. After that, I'll see. I haven't decided what to do, but now I'm focusing on finishing it, and hopefully I'll be able to publish it soon in countries that speaks English, basically. At the time, Fadlallah was not illegal to support Fadlallah, so I sent that check. But again, look at here. So the government was able to find a check from 1995, right? And you would imagine a check in 1999 would be much easier to find, right? Because that person who said I sent $3,500 to Hezbollah in 1999, he said I sent official check. So here is the irony. Why would they find a check in 1995 to Sayyid Fadlallah, but they would not find a check in 1999? The answer is very simple, because that check did not exist. The government subpoenaed all my bank documents, all my credit card, everything. They had thousands and thousands of documents and dozens of boxes. They could not find this check. And yet, I was convicted on that check. It's very interesting what Judge Gregory in the appellate court in the Fourth Circuit stated in that regard. He said he does not find any evidence that indicate. First, he described Saeed Harb. He said the government acknowledged that Saeed Harb was the sole witness against me on that count. And Saeed Harb was described throughout the trial as manipulator, exaggerator, a liar, a person who would do anything for his interest. Those not my words, Justice Judge Gregory words, appellate judge. Yet, I was giving 155 years based on one person word. No evidence, no checks, nothing whatsoever. That's interesting. Look, I came from Lebanon during the war, and I never had my feeling toward Hezbollah and the resistance in Lebanon. And as I told you earlier, I did really believe in United States freedom. So I was more active and spoke more about the resistance. I was born in Burj Al Barajni and I grew up in Burj Al Barajni. So all my friends and people who I associated with were in that direction, pro resistance. So simply, I spoke about it more than anyone else, and ended up with those charges. I mean, look, most of like that meeting that we had, we used to pray, used to come to pray together on Thursday night meeting. Although not all of them were supporting Hezbollah, but all of them supporting the resistance. So some of us, some of the guys were pro ML, some of the guys were pro Hezbollah, but none of them were officially Hezbollah. Just everybody supported a party, just like any American who support Democrat or Republican, right? But all of them supported the resistance. So we spoke about the resistance with enthusiasm, and that's basically for any Lebanese, anyone, any Lebanese nationalist would do the same. Yes, they were arrested and they were accused of being members of Hezbollah cell. In fact, my ex-wife, who was American, she was arrested too, and she had to plead guilty being a member of Hezbollah just to get her freedom. So when she came to trial, my attorney asked her, Angie, were you really Hezbollah? She said, no. In fact, I didn't know what Hezbollah was till I was arrested. Yet she pled guilty as being a member of Hezbollah. Not in the gas station. I had picture probably in my house. See, here the different in culture play big role. To me, Imam Khomeini just like Gandhi to the Indian, like Martin Luther King to the black. To me, he was the first Shi'i to bring Shi'i up. So it wasn't about the American government want to view Khomeini just from one angle when he's way broader than that. So people can love Imam Khomeini just like I don't know Gandhi, but I respect Gandhi, I respect Mandela, I respect Martin Luther King, because they sacrificed themselves for their countries, and Imam Khomeini is no different than those people. But in the United States, they refuse to see things that way. It's black or white. That's it. They say anyone who loves Khomeini, that's mean you are Hezbollah, when it's not true. I'm not affiliated with Hezbollah, but as I said, I do support Hezbollah, and this is basically my people, you know. So I'm not sure how they doing the logistical things, because I had the other day one reporter who came to me directly and asked me for an interview, and I told him I have no problem with that. So I'm not sure how that worked, but I'm not Hezbollah at this point. Although I would love to support Hezbollah with everything that I could, because as I said, I believe in their cause. I believe they are heroes. They liberated my country. If it wasn't for them, probably we wouldn't have this interview, because ISIS or Israel would be here. As far as I know, Hezbollah from the first day declared that I did not. I said I wasn't Hezbollah, and Hezbollah said the same, because I was not. As I said, in fact, when I left Lebanon, Hezbollah did not know that I was leaving, because I felt embarrassed to leave Lebanon when people in my age were going to support my country and defend my country. So I felt really I'm betraying everything that I believed in. But I was basically in a bad predicament, because, on one hand, my mother was crying all the time and wants me to be away from Lebanon. And on the other hand, I believed in the cause and I should defend my country. In the end, I said, you know what? I can go to United States. I can support poor and orphan. I can do something for my people instead of carrying arms. I do not believe Hezbollah need my $100 or $200. According to the CIA, Hezbollah receive over $500 million a year. So to me, I was sending to my mom and tell her, just, if I want to give to people around you, poor and orphan, if they, who need it, but not to Hezbollah. All right. So the justice system in the United States showed me two faces. One was presented by Kim Bell, the prosecutor, who did everything to to make name for himself in the expense of me and my family, and what he supposedly to believe justice, because prosecutor in the United States supposed to seek justice, not conviction, and he did not care about everything that he swore to uphold. He just cared about one thing, conviction, and to destroy my life so he can make name for himself. And another face I saw in the United States was presented by a person named Jim McLaughlin, who represented me throughout those years and helped me with everything that I needed and treated me very kindly. And now, when I think about United States, I like to think about Jim McLaughlin. That's what United States, not Campbell, the person who oppressed me and prosecuted me just because he could do that. Thank you.
He's your attorney. He was your attorney from beginning to end.
No, he did not represent me during the trial and the first appeal, but he volunteered later. He was a pro bono.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, until this day, I still communicate with him, and he's really one of American great people.